Hello and welcome to the Menopause Mindshift Self-Love Podcast. I am your host, Lisa R. Triggs, author, podcaster, and self-love advocate. Today, I'm going to take a little chance. I'm got my book in my hand here, The Menopause Mindshift, How I Unleash My Inner Queen, and you can too. And I I just want to read a couple paragraphs at the beginning of one of the chapters. It's about finding self-love. The more I understood the universal laws and manifestation, the more I could really see how much I desired to be loved by others. I had never thought about loving myself. It just never occurred to me that I should love myself first and foremost. I never pieced together that my ability to love others started with loving myself first. Even the work I had done in previous years with the law of attraction focuses on gratitude. I am so very grateful for my ... whatever. I don't think I ever said that I loved myself. Sure, I was grateful for my life, along with this, that, and the other thing, but was never grateful for the love I had for myself. Wow, that was a huge revelation. How does one love oneself? Is it innate? Is it taught when we were young? I always understood the outside forces had influenced how I viewed myself. How I was treated by my family, friends, and colleagues was always a factor in how I viewed myself on the outside in physical terms. But I didn't realize how those outside forces affected the way I thought and felt about myself. I mean, I get that the teasing I experienced as a child affected my self-confidence at times and made me feel bad about myself. But I didn't understand the difference between those feelings and having love for myself. I can see now they have always been intertwined. Outside contributors made me feel bad about myself, which made me not like myself, and not liking myself led to lack of love for myself. That's the beginning of chapter 9. And what's my point in reading that? I want us all to understand what exactly self-love is and how you do it, how you recognize it, whether you do or not, and how to move forward with it. In that, there are a lot of different facets from upbringing, sociological experience, lifestyle, and even intelligence. And not just your own intelligence, but possibly even that of your parents, siblings, and so forth. What kind of financial situation did you grow up in? These are all factors that I believe, in one way or another, affect how you feel about yourself. But those are outside factors, again, and we let those things control us instead of thinking about it in yourself. Sure, your parents start and initiate how you're being raised and how you might think about yourself depending on what you're involved in, what kind of household it is, or if they are supportive, loving parents, or are they stricter parents who had the hammer down. Did you grow up in a family that used corporal punishment? I did. I may or may not have told this story, but we used to get corporal punishment. My father had a belt when we misbehaved, so we would get the belt. So I think I was around 10, maybe 11. And I don't even remember how I got the belt for whatever reasons. It's probably melting back to my mother or something. I was 11 years old. I was trying to express myself and figure out myself and express my own position in my family, which I was the youngest of 7. So while I got away with some things, there were other things that I did not. I got the belt for whatever reason. That night, I believe after my parents were asleep, I may have fell asleep and then woke up or something like that, or they were upstairs or downstairs. Anyway, they weren't in the room, and my dad used to keep the belt in the kitchen. There was a kitchen cupboard where you kept the broom and all that next to the phone. So I took the belt, and we had a back room. We called it a room off of the back door, kind of like I guess nowadays we would call it a mud room. So we always had a garbage bag in there. So I took the belt out of the cupboard in the kitchen and threw it in the garbage bag. And I was actually a little bit scared about that. I thought, am I going to get more in trouble? Am I going to get more for throwing it away once they find it in here? But to my surprise, it never surfaced again. And I was absolutely sure that one, if not both of my parents had seen it in there. Possibly they got the point. I never asked. They never said anything about it. It was just gone. I probably couldn't ask my mother now. She probably can't remember. She's 88 years old. And unfortunately, my father is no longer with us. So I should have asked them. I should have asked them when I was older if they remembered that. I should have asked them if they remembered that, finding the belt in the garbage and who they thought might have done it, because they could have thought it was my older brother, but it wasn't. It was me, because I thought, enough of that. And I remember at the time, I believe there was talk of Dr. Spock and that kind of thing. So corporal punishment was on its way out, because it was discovered that it affects a child's self-esteem. Now, coupled with that, in life experiences, I experienced some trauma as a child. I talk about it briefly in my book, what kind of trauma I experienced. So I guess if you want to find out, you'll have to buy or download my book. That also shapes us. So loving myself, coupled with all of that, we were a middle income family. There was always food on the table, even with 7 children. My father, luckily, never lost his job. I don't even remember if there was any times where the plant shut down. At that time, it was Seagram's whiskey, so Crown Royal. They had a plant in the town I grew up in small town Canada, southwestern Ontario. So my dad was a mechanic on the line. It was a bottling plant, and he spent his entire career there. I believe he worked there for 42 years, from the time he was in his early 20s, 21, something like that, until he retired. And so many people, we don't do that nowadays. We've changed jobs, who knows, 2, 3, 4 times. My point in all of this is that, and I may have talked about this before, but I'm going to drive it home again, because my whole premise is around self-love now. It was, and still is, the forefront of my message. Even though at first, when I wrote my book, and when it first came out, when I was first talking about it and talking about myself and what I did and who I was, I actually had a bit of a hard time with it at first, because I was like, okay, I'm an author. I'm a best-selling author. I made it to best-selling status the first day my book came out. So identify myself as that. So now, first of all, I'm a best-selling author. And I had also identified myself as the menopause queen. I wear this tiara. I wear pink all the time. And my goal was to speak. Okay, so I'm a speaker. My goal is to have a podcast, so now I'm a podcaster. So who am I? I am a best-selling author. I am the menopause queen. I'm a podcaster. I am a speaker. And in addition to that, I'm a self-love advocate for women in menopause, because having lived through it myself, and then recognizing my own misery and how I allowed it to happen, and how I got sucked in. I allowed myself to be sucked in to this spiral of negativity. And I actually believe I lived there for far more years than even my menopause. And it's because it's quite possible that, because of earlier trauma I experienced as a child and all that, that got started way back then, how I felt about myself. Because even though I didn't know it, I didn't realize what had happened to me like many, many years later. Like I was well into my teens. I was naive. I had no clue. Uh, Nothing of this was ever talked about. My family sex wasn't talked about. Even girl stuff wasn't talked about. I think my parents were on their 25th anniversary vacation when I started my period. And my sisters, I don't know if I consider myself a late bloomer. I mean, I was 13. That seemed, pretty average at that time. But by today's standards, I think it's a little old. So being raised in that kind of atmosphere, and I don't hold any grudges against my parents. I know totally different time when children were raised. My parents were raised at a time where children were seen and not heard. Um, when I grew up, the kids were at a different table than the parents at holidays. We had the kids table, which wasn't totally bad. I'm sure we do that nowadays as well. People have the kids table and the adult table, and the kids want to hang out with one another. So that's all well and good. But I was very conscious of the being seen and not heard, and there was that slight bit of fear that was instilled with us by our parents at this time. And then the personal, trauma that I experienced as a child, that it shapes, right? And we pretty much know this. We pretty much know from history, from science, from other psychologists, psychiatrists, other books, professionals and specialists, that have written and talked about this. We know that. We know that our childhood um, develops who we are, who we become as adults. So that's suffice to say that some children are going to grow up with more self-esteem and loving themselves more than others. Now, I just happen to be one that struggled with it. And I actually had forgotten about this until I was going through it myself. I had forgotten that mental health issues ran in my family, particularly on my dad's side. I had an uncle who never married and suffered from mental health issues for most of his life. On my mother's side, very strong women. But was that healthy as well? It was almost cold like, you know. Um, so is that healthy as well? Who does have a 100% absolutely healthy, perfect upbringing where nothing's gone wrong with me? The absolute utmost love and security in yourself. It does that even exist? Probably not. It's something we strive for, though. So now my goal is just to be able to start each day with love for myself, go through my day knowing, having that love for myself, and ending each day with that love I have for myself. And the process in which I do that is the techniques that have helped me get from A to B, get me from that depressed, negative state where I wallowed and didn't even realize that's what it was. At first, I had no idea. And, I never thought of researching it, asking the Google gods, as I call it, asking the Google gods what menopause symptoms were outside of, you know, some hot flashes and things like that, and maybe a little bit of weight gain. But to have the mental health be so prevalent and so prominent in my journey even made me feel even worse about myself. What's wrong with me? Why am I having such a hard time? Is my experience so much worse than many other people? And it was like 4 or 5 years before I really discovered that, there were Facebook groups and people were talking about it. And partly because I was encapsulated in this box. I was living in this world, my little world, right, of everything that was going on with me outside, inside, um, family, relationship, all that stuff. So I was in my own little world. And it took me a while to be able to say, hey, there's a world outside this little world. And I need to get back on the bandwagon here, and I need to get back and be part of it. So these are all revelations that you make along the way. And I really believe that doing the inner work, when I talk about that, or anybody else does, say going within, doing the inner work, is it soul searching? Yes. Is it digging deep to see who you really are, like who I really was, who I really am? Absolutely. Is it a work in progress? Is it something that you have to do every day? Yes, absolutely. Because it's not a quick fix. If it were, everybody would be walking around happy as hell all day long and in great spirits and enjoying, and no one would feel depressed and no one would be on antidepressants and no one would be suffering and all that kind of stuff. So the connection that I made with being so mortally depressed and living at such a low energy level was the science of it, saying, when I'm emitting that really low energy level out to the world, that's, what I was getting back. So that soul searching, that working on the inner self, you could pray. Some people pray. I used to pray. I used to be very religious. I used to go to church regularly. I even talk about in my book, there was a time I thought about being a nun. I was very religious. I grew up Catholic. I went to a Catholic high school. Catholic high school was my choice, though. There was a public high school very close to our house, which all of my other siblings went to. And since I was the youngest, uh, I wanted to carve my own path. So I decided to go to the Catholic high school. I rode a bus for an hour and a half. And one of the other reasons I chose to do that was to get away from other children or kids I grew up with that used to tease me in grade school. So I wanted a fresh start. That was one thing that really impacted me as well. Like I said briefly in that excerpt that I read at the beginning, is the teasing. Getting teased as a child for many years messed with me, messed with my head, messed with my self-confidence, what messed with my identity. I developed this need. To be accepted and liked by others on the outside. And it's a journey. It's a journey to get through that and to recognize and do things that are for the good of yourself, not so that anybody else on the outside will like you. That's part of self-love. That's part of going within. That's working on yourself, recognizing these things. So I would write it down. Yeah. Journal, if you want to call it journaling, writing. Um, I put all the manifestation techniques in and called them, that I used. Yeah, I call them 8 core elements now. And the community that I'm building is now based on these 8 core elements. So a lot of people talk about journaling, journal. So, but that is what journaling is different for different people. The way I journal might be different from the way you journal, from the way my friends journal. And in my 8 core elements, I refer to it as write. The word journaling can be overused. To me, journaling, this is the way I journal. I write down affirmation statements, how I feel about myself that day. And for me, I'm training my brain. I have trained my brain and I will continue to train my brain. So when I say I'm training my brain, uh, I want to make sure that I'm clear that it's a constant thing. It's not like something, oh, my brain's, retrained, so I'm good now. Uh, yes and no. And that might sound complicated and it is. Your brain is a complicated thing. It's the center, it controls your body. So when you've been thinking and feeling a certain way about yourself for so long, like 50 years, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a step by step thing. But I noticed the change within weeks. So I recently did my first masterclass. I was part of a Queens of the Internet event this week, and I did my very first masterclass and recorded it. And it was on how to master menopause in 30 days. And I decided to do that because the 8 core elements that I was just referring to, that is how you can master menopause in 30 days. If you put in the work, you will absolutely feel better. Your menopause symptoms will definitely improve in a 30 days time if you put in the effort. These are all self-love practices. These 8 core elements that I've referred to now, manifestation techniques, ways to literally write your own story, is to write down that how you feel about yourself in that very minute, how you want that day to go, how you want tomorrow to go. What are your goals? What are your goals in 30 days, 3 months, next year? What intentions do you have? What do you want to achieve? Who do you want to send love out to other than yourself? Because these are all things that are emitted out. So the more you emit out the love, the feeling of love, it's a high vibration, the more you're going to get back to it. So what's the point in all this? These are ways. This is how. This is how you learn to love yourself. You write down every great thing about yourself and read it to yourself every day if you have to, for as long as it takes for it to sink in. We talk about mirror work, stripping yourself down naked in front of the mirror and looking at yourself and saying, wow, I have gorgeous eyes. My ears are so cute. Nice fingers, maybe you like your boobs, whatever it might be. Your figure, do you have an hourglass figure? Do you have a nice bum? You start small. Find 1, find 2, 3 is better to start with. Things that you see in that mirror that are beautiful about you, that you love. It's a place to start. And once you start that in that place, it's building blocks. Build from there, add to it, then start calming your system down, right? I talk about meditation all the time and how that calms your body down. I talk about moving your body. It calms your body down. And to me, all of these things, even what you put into your body, if you're choosing to eat junk food or if you're choosing to eat healthy food, if you're choosing to move your body, if you're choosing to not move your body, to me, those are ways of showing whether you do or don't love yourself. And don't get me wrong, I'm talking bigger picture here, not, in the moment where you have a little hormonal fluctuation and you say, okay, I'm craving some chocolate. Okay. Yeah. Or I'm going to have dessert today. No. That's different from the recognition and the fact that you're doing these things because you value yourself. You value your health, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. Meditation is a very spiritual thing. So if you're not a churchgoer, anything like that, and if you are, that's great. You know what spirituality is if you're part of a congregation and a churchgoer in whatever religion that is. You know what spirituality is, being connected to that um, universal being, a property, however you want to describe it. So this is the same thing. You're getting connected. I had to connect these things in order for me to show maximum love for myself. It actually came down to, am I going to choose to eat that thing that has sugar in it and I know it's not good for my body on a regular basis? Everybody likes a treat now and again. You go, oh, what the hell? But on a regular basis, are you filling your body with junk food? Because, I mean, let's face it, your body's going to respond to what you're putting into it. That this was something that I recognized. If I eat crappy food, I feel crappy. If I make sure that I move my body and I put good food in my body, I feel better. I have more energy. I actually feel better mentally. I am able to feel happier naturally without having to be consciously aware and saying, okay, let's take toll of how I'm feeling here. And I may be jumping around a little bit, but my point is still steady, that these are all tools that affect how we feel about ourselves. You know, and let's be frank about that for a minute, because there are lots of women out there. We want the quick fix. We want to be able to take that pill, or whether it's the hormone replacement therapy. But I think people would prefer to be able to take a pill to be able to reduce menopause symptoms, or have a cure for menopause. And like so many other things, it probably never will happen because everybody's case is different. So to be able to mainstream that is a really difficult thing. It's like celiac disease. Everybody's case is slightly different. Everybody has slightly different symptoms. So to be able to have one definitive cure other than eating a gluten-free diet would be super, super difficult. It would take a lot of testing. And this would be the same type of thing because everybody's hormonal journey is different. And do hormones play a part in how you feel about yourself and your energy level and all this other stuff? Absolutely. They are the big player in this. The big player. They were the big player in me recognizing how I was feeling about myself. But once I did these other things, right? Once I got the stuff off my mind and reduced the stress, saw myself as I wanted to see myself, moved my body, filled it with better things, it's a package deal. My brain was automatically feeling better and feeling happier, feeling more positive, was easier to get up in the morning and say, yeah, it's going to be a great day because I'm going to make it a great day. We produce hormones naturally. So why not do it? Time becomes an issue for women who are working out of the house. I don't have time for that. Um, that's why there are things you can do even before you go to bed to help sleep better, wake up happier, and will help reduce the symptoms because you're at least putting that positive stimuli on your brain before you go to bed. But I believe that even the woman who's working outside of the house can go for a walk on her lunch break or after dinner when she gets home. And being tired when you get home is really not an excuse because this is your health you're talking about, right? This is your health you're talking about. This is your mental and physical health that you're talking about. This is what it means to be in control of your own journey. This is what it means to write your own story, to define your own journey, right? to love yourself enough to do this for yourself. And the more you do this for yourself, the more you will love yourself and your life and everybody else. Circle, circle. I've referred to it before, the other circle of life, right? It's all connected. We are connected. Our bodies are connected, right? Everything, the chakras, all that. It's all connected. Body, mind, soul, spirit. We are all in this being. So the better we take care of it, the better it will take care of us. And to me, that's what self-love is. I'm going to end it there. I hope you found some value in this today. I know I was talking a little bit in various different places, but it's pieces that when you bring together equal a whole, and that whole is how you feel about yourself. Not a quick fix, something to continue to work on, something to be conscious of, something to be aware of, something to work on. And then after you have been working on it for a while, it will start to become more natural. It will start to become more automatic. Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's still something to be conscious of and be aware of, to make sure that you're living in that light, living in that spirit, living with yourself first, taking care of yourself first. Do this for yourself. Trust me, your body, mind, and spirit will thank you, and you'll thank yourself. Thank you so much for joining me today for this episode of the Menopause Mindshift Self-Love Podcast. Please join me again for more talk of self-love.